This is Tracy Island, the secret headquarters of the world's most famous rescue organization. The touch of a button, and the idyllic paradise home of the Tracy family is transformed into the high-tech command and control center of international rescue and the launch site for the Thunderbirds.
Tracy Island is as much a character in the film as the ships and the actors. Under this beautiful tropical paradise is hidden the silos in which the spaceships exist. Thunderbird 1 is hidden underneath the swimming pool. The swimming pool slides back, Thunderbird 1 is launched.
And off we go.
Thunderbird 2, which is this huge green megalith of a ship, comes out of the side of a mountain on its own ramp, lifts up, and roars off into space. Thunderbird 3 comes out of the Tracy Island Library, which splits into thirds, opens up, separates, and Thunderbird 3 comes up through the top of the mountain.
Creating Tracy Island proved to be a big challenge for the film producers. Such a fantastic place clearly didn't exist in real life, so it was to be made up of a combination of sets and computer-generated effects. They would also need to find a location somewhere in the world for the exterior scenes around Tracy Island and to film the dramatic aerial shots.
We scouted South Africa and we scouted Australia, and we eventually decided to shoot what would act as Tracy Island in the Seychelles.
The Seychelles is a group of paradise islands in the middle of the Indian Ocean. In March 2003, filming on the new Thunderbirds movie began when director Jonathan Frakes and his crew flew to this exotic location to shoot the exterior beach and jungle scenes of Tracy Island.
The Seychelles Islands, North Island was the grand master island, which was Tracy Island. Then there were scenes shot in the jungle of Tracy Island, which were shot on another island called Praslin. On the island of Praslin, there were beautiful white sandy beaches and free granite sculptures and incredible thick Coco de Mai palm forest that we shot for location.
Cut! Fred! Wrong set! Let's go!
There's a girl over there. She wants me to keep saying print, hooray. 70 days from now, she wants to see if I can still do that. I'm up to the challenge.
We are shooting from when the hood has blown us out of the compound and we fall into the water there.
Oh, great, more water.
Then, can you slow him down?
I'd be delighted.
Then do it. And meet us at the junkyard. Come on, Furman.
And we're going all the way through this stuff until past, just a little bit past the satellite relay station stuff.
How are we doing, Furman?
Don't rush me, Alan. This is very delicate equipment. Ah! Which is now broken.
It's been so hard here. No, it's been amazing. We've just been, I've been exploring the island, and there's rainforests to walk through and beaches to lie on. This is our little life raft, which Parker operates with pedals. They were shooting for about, I'd say 10 minutes straight, but if you imagine being on an exercise bike, and it took him about an hour to recover, so I felt really bad because I was just sitting there with my parasol.
Whilst shooting continued in the Seychelles, the Thunderbirds construction crew was working round the clock back at Pinewood Studios to get the massive sets and rescue vehicles built. When the film unit returns to England, the rocket silos, command and control center, and the Tracy living quarters will all need to be completed to enable the filming of Thunderbirds to continue.
Almost everything is being worked on. Progress on everything is at quite a good stage, and over the next few weeks you'll see them emerge rapidly.
One of the master sets for the Tracy Island house is an exterior because it's got dual swimming pools, huge deck, barbecue pit, a study, and a library.
The start of our set down here will be the sort of palm tree jungle they'll appear from and then see a vision of the house. So we imagine it's a few hundred yards off the beach.
Okay, boys, that's the brief.
It's our first assignment, so make it good.
Thunderbirds is based on a popular TV series made in the 1960s featuring marionettes and models. Many of the iconic moments in the film, like the Thunderbirds takeoff sequences, also appear in the series. So when it came to designing the sets for the film, the production team took some inspiration from the original show.
We looked at the swimming pool and we realized that people nowadays wouldn't believe a rocket taking off very close to the house, because the glass would melt and all the rest of it, and there'd be serious damage. So the way we moved it further away from the house was by having double swimming pools, a smaller sort of diving pool near the house and a larger swimming pool, the one that opens further away.
As with most films, the script is constantly being refined right up to the day of shooting. Even after construction has begun, the art department need to remain flexible within the set's design to accommodate any last-minute changes.
And then another scene that's appeared later in the script, wasn't there? It was about the kids diving into vents, where they appear above us, the command and control centre, spying on the hood. So we've offered up a few places here and there, vents they can crawl into through the undergrowth. So that's a choice, and they're just, relatively easy things to add to the set.
Watch out for the guards.
Get in, get in. Coming through, lightning. Running, 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 jumping, running.
This is the Thunderbird 2 silo. First of all, this is the Firefly, as you can probably see right here. I drive it over very badly to the elevator over there. This, oh boy, this was really fun. This is the robotic arm.
Time to thunderize.
Well, now that the Firefly actually worked and the Thunderizer actually worked and these kids drove around and foamed the bad guys with, what do they have, 6,000 gallons of green foam. I mean, it was fantasy time. And the kids had a ball.
When they'd shot all the scenes in the Seychelles and on the sets at Pinewood Studios, it was then over to the visual effects team to create the rest of Tracy Island.
The challenge was to take wide shots of that set and then place them in the computer inside the plates from the island. Every time we saw off the set, which would have been sunset, ocean, sandy beach, was all shot blue screen and amazingly added in.
The plate, or the actual footage, was shot out in the Seychelles. What the idea was is that we had to drop Tracy Island compound onto this island. So what Martin's done is that he's built this 3D model of the compound, and then we've done a render of that. We'll do a quick before and after. There we go.
That's it for Tracy Island. Now we move on to the rockets, the cars, the action, and the rest of the Thunderbirds movie. Here's what we need. The bad guys have stolen Thunderbird 2 from Tracy Island. They come flying down the Thames. They fly under the Tower Bridge. They blow all the windows out of the mayor's building. They circle Big Ben, and they land here in Jubilee Garden. After that, Thunderbird 1 with the good guys skeet down the Thames, also land right here somewhere in Jubilee Garden. Now, from outer space comes Thunderbird 3 with Jeff Tracy and the rest of the boys. They land where? Right here in Jubilee Gardens. Out of Thunderbird 2 comes the mole. It digs underground, runs under the Thames, and goes to the Bank of London. The good guys now get back in Thunderbird 1 and they fly to the Bank of London. The only problem I have is, how do I do that?
The first stage of planning for the actual shots begins at Framestore in central London. The largest effects house in Europe, Framestore has worked on many major productions, including the last Bond film and the Harry Potter series. Although the sequence planned for Jubilee Gardens will eventually use vast amounts of computing power, the starting point is actually on paper. The designers begin by creating a storyboard. Very much like a cartoon strip, this is put in the computer, animated, and will give the director a basic idea of how the shots will look.
In these big action sequences, everyone sort of lives and dies by the boards because we have committed to that angle for this big, expensive visual effects shot.
Once the shots are in sequence, the visual effects team edit the storyboards with 3D computer graphics. Now they can see how the characters will move and where to put the camera in order to follow the action.
What was a real advantage is that I could have an idea about what I wanted a shot to do going into an action scene. So you could design before they spent a lot of money on building the shot.
There are some things that can't be filmed, and for these parts of the sequence, it's over to the animation department.
Just going to take you briefly through the basics of how we actually do animation with a computer if you haven't seen it before. The principles are pretty much similar to they are with puppet animation, where you'll set a certain pose, go forward in time, change the pose. The difference with the computer is that you can actually see it happening in front of you. So if I've got Thunderbird 2 flying across screen here, I can see it happening. I don't wait for the film to be developed. So the methods are similar, but the end result is slightly different.
So the rockets are now moving. The next step is to make them look a little more convincing. The team have a few tricks to make the computer models look like real Thunderbirds.
We're applying texture maps to them, which are basically all of your paints that we apply to a wireframe. The next phase is to start to apply shaders. This is what makes it shiny, what makes it reflective, dirty. It gives it a material characteristic to the surface.
Getting the environment right, the world the effects live in, is just as important as the machines themselves. The designers need to make the computer-generated Thunderbirds sit comfortably in real-life London.
I'm in charge of the effects team, who are primarily responsible for the environmental interactions of those rockets. So if there's any sort of landings or the dust being kicked up, and what else do we need to do to make these things look like they're really in the scene?
To make the scenes look as convincing as possible, the team need to layer real-life elements into the computer graphics. So, it's off to the river to shoot water, sky, grass, everything they can that will add realism.
The rule of thumb is always to use whatever you can that's real, to use that, because it will always look better.
Bringing those layers together is a difficult process. Sometimes several layers of computer information and real-life footage are needed to make a shot truly believable.
You lay this one on top, which is the CG on its own, and then the final result is this one here. So it looks like the ship is affecting the water as it goes across.
The mole was a job in itself, and to make it burrow under Jubilee Gardens, Justin's team found an ingenious way of creating the effect.
On the day, they'd rigged up the dirt chucker, so a lot of sort of drums just stacked with dirt and grass, and just fired off the mortars for those, just throwing the dirt in the air and covering everyone.
One part of the sequence that didn't use any tricks was going through Tower Bridge. The unit really did fly through the famous London landmark.
Has anybody flown underneath Tower Bridge before?
Never.
It was done in about the 1940s, apparently. I'm not sure by what, a small biplane, but we met back in February. We got all the key organisations around a table and said, this is us, this is what Thunderbirds wants to do in London, this is our plan. We want to fly a real helicopter to get Thunderbird 2's viewpoint through Tower Bridge. Come on, guys, help us out.
Coordinating the opening of the bridge, the background action, safety issues, and the fly-through itself is a huge job involving everyone on the crew. It's a massive exercise in communication, from storyboard artists to the animators, through to the supervisors and the director himself.
I spent 6 months getting everybody on side, and finally we shot it last Sunday, and it was the most very quick 30 seconds of fly through for 6 months of work, but it was worth every penny of doing all that hard work. It was fantastic.
Okay, stand by then, Jess. We'll bring the helicopter in. Background action and action on the car, please.
And when it's all pulled together, the entire sequence from Thunderbird 2's appearance over the Thames to the mole going underground will be on screen for less than 2 minutes. Months of preparation, hundreds of people at work, and this is only about 2% of the total film. That's the filmmakers' commitment to making us believe that Thunderbirds are go.
I must warn you that I know Judo, Krav Maga, and Taekwondo.
And I know Parker.
Lady?
Coming through, lady!
One of the most complicated scenes that takes place in Thunderbirds is the fight Parker and Lady Penelope have with baddies Transom and Mullion. This had to be planned as carefully as a dance sequence. The actors involved underwent several weeks of intensive training working with the stunt team to polish up their various fight techniques for the scene.
We spent a week just boxing, and then we spent the next week sparring. And so they really got us tight on our moves. Lennox Lewis, watch out.
Now I know why it's only 3-minute rounds, because it's exhausting. And that was just one way, you know, he wasn't hitting me, I was just hitting him, but God, blimey.
Planning was essential. They had the entire exterior of Tracy Island. They had 3, 4, 5 levels to fight on. At one point, there were 3 Lady Penelopes. We have a gymnastic stunt double. We have a kickboxing stunt double. Sophia is doing some of her own stunts.
It's a very rich fight sequence. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it, but it's not The Matrix, but it's it's great fun.
There are elements in the fight that are absolutely cartoony, and there's water gags in it, and people fly through the air. The action stops, and there are snippets of what we hope is witty dialogue.
Have you any idea what a manicure costs these days? It was great. It was really lovely because for a week to have there's very little dialogue, and it was lovely to do something so physical. I can't wait to see it all put together. I hope we don't look stupid.
Coming through, lady!
We really had a go at it, you know. But it's exhausting. It's great. I love it. Got a few bruises.
Shall I bring the car around, my lady?
Parker, have a bit of a lie down.
The Thunderbird's fleet has many state-of-the-art machines, but none is as versatile or as pink as Lady Penelope's vehicle of choice, Fab 1.
Fab 1 is Lady P's Thunderbird, as it were. It obviously drives like a normal car, it can fly, it can go on water, and we also have a special life raft that we use when things go wrong, which is hysterical.
Sean Beard was in charge of the overall look of the film. It was his job to oversee the design of the sets, the rockets, and of course, Fab 1.
I wanted it to be like the new Mini and the new Beetle, that they're completely new products, and yet they relate strongly to the old. Well, it had to have 6 wheels, it was be pink, and have the glass canopy. I think that was the thing. So, we had a lot of people doing up designs and things, and this is what we've come up with.
Originally, Fab 1 is a Rolls-Royce, as everyone who's a fan of Thunderbirds knows. Rolls-Royce, for some reason, didn't want to get involved with us, and the obvious and most exciting team to join us was Ford.
The designers at Ford took the concepts from the production and set about making Fab 1 a reality.
It's really exciting. I mean, as a youth growing up with Thunderbirds, obviously, there's an appeal side from myself.
Whilst remaining faithful to John Beard's original concept for the car, Chris and his team also took some inspiration from the classic 1954 Ford Thunderbird.
Obviously, Thunderbird was an inspiration because that classic car had a nice sort of retro feel that was very appropriate to Thunderbirds.
Once the designs have been finalized, the vehicle construction team begin to bring Fab 1 to life. Easier said than done.
This is one of our biggest problems always, is to make a picture work and shoehorn the mechanics in, which often are in the wrong place for an art designer. And so we've got to do our best to get the concept working and alter it as little as possible.
After 6 months' work, Fab 1 is finally ready for action. But just how practical is it?
In the real world, it's probably very unusable. 23 foot long, it's very difficult to manoeuvre. But in the film world, it's fantastic. It's got jet engines, it flies, it goes on water. I mean, what other mode of transport do you need?
Try not to run over any children, Parker.
Very good, milady.
Lady Penelope Crichton Ward, at your service.
London agent Lady Penelope is the Thunderbird with style. Fighting fit and with impeccable taste, she'll pit her wits against the toughest of opponents.
Have you any idea what a manicure costs these days?
With her trusty butler Parker and the incredible Fab 1, she's ready to put the glamour into any international rescue, as long as it's pink.
Sophia Myles is delightful as Lady Penelope. The part is brilliant. She's brilliant in it. She looks fabulous. She's magical. The character is like an angel.
Hello, boys. I said to one of my friends, I said, I've got a job. And she said, oh, what are you doing? And I said, I'm playing Lady Penelope in a thing called Thunderbirds. And she went, oh, what? Isn't life fun sometimes?
Particularly milady.
She is very elegant. She adores pink. Has an extensive collection of clothes. She has a fantastic mobile phone. Marit Allen, our costume designer, is a genius. Lady P's wardrobe is quite spectacular. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it on film before.
Everything is going to be pink and, if possible, wildly unsuitable for the action. So that everything that she has is going to be glamorous.
There's a mixture of retro 60s through to futuristic to high camp pink fur coats.
There are no barriers with her. She can just be gorgeous and do incredible damage to the bad guys.
You're a formidable opponent, Lady Penelope, more than a match for most men.
That's not saying much, then, is it?
The character changes hairdo and clothes at the drop of a hat. There's never any explanation.
She had to have a pink flight suit, and she looks amazing in this suit, and she sits on the back seat and does some excellent backseat driving when the kids are off on their rescue.
Textbook, boys.
This is her little barbecue dress. I think she enjoyed that one. It was a fun dress. I think actually the crew enjoyed that one too.
You will have to tell Lord Marlborough that I've broken my shooting arm. We shall send the Institute of the Blind a dozen guide dogs and bring the car around.
Yes, my lady.
The character of Parker is so well defined as the butler, chauffeur, manservant. It informs everything that he does.
Have a look at this, Parker.
Trying to uphold the tradition of being the butler in the aristocratic English household, but actually he comes from East End of London, but he's trying his best.
Thunderbirds still haven't responded.
Oh, my lady.
I think it's time to send the emergency signal, Parker.
I fear you are not wrong, my lady.
Lady Penelope's world would not be complete without a glittering array of gizmos and gadgets. From the fabulous Fab One, the ultimate in designer transport, to her emergency signaling teapot. And when all else fails, she'll improvise with style. One of Lady Penelope's most glamorous gadgets is an inflatable dinghy, decked out, of course, in her trademark colors.
She's an oasis of calm, you know, and whether there's a torpedo going off, a war starting, it's okay, Parker, let's get the car. Oh, look, Parker, pink is the new black this season.
I'm very glad to hear it.